Hello, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Jason.
And I'm Julia, your co-host. We're so happy to have you with us today.
If you're trying to improve your English speaking skills, this episode is just for you. Today's topic is something many English learners need to hear. Don't speak perfect English, speak real English.
That's right. So many learners focus too much on being perfect grammar, perfect pronunciation, perfect vocabulary. But here's the truth.
In real life, people don't speak perfect English. They speak real English simple, natural, and relaxed. That's what helps you connect with others and express yourself confidently.
Exactly. Think about it. Do native speakers speak like grammar books? Not at all. We say things like gonna, wanna, or lemme, and we even make little mistakes, and that's totally normal.
So, in this episode, we're going to talk about why it's more important to speak real English than perfect English. And don't worry, we'll give you practical tips, real examples, and even a little practice.
Whether you're a beginner or already on your English journey, we want you to feel relaxed, confident, and ready to speak, not afraid to make mistakes.
All right, let's get started. First, let's talk about a big problem many learners face: the myth of perfect English. So, Julia, let's talk about something a lot of English learners believe: the idea that they have to speak perfect English all the time. What do you think about that?
Honestly, Jason, I think it's one of the biggest things holding people back. Many learners believe they shouldn't speak until their grammar is 100% correct or until their accent sounds native, but that's not realistic or helpful.
Absolutely. I've met so many learners who are afraid to open their mouths because they don't want to make a mistake. They wait and wait, trying to be perfect, and in the end, they stay silent.
Yes. And here's the truth. Even native speakers don't speak perfect English. We pause, we say and we mix up our words, and sometimes we even forget how to say something.
Exactly. And nobody corrects us because that's just how people speak in real life. So, if you're a learner, why are you being harder on yourself than we are on ourselves?
Right. It's like trying to write a perfect book before you've ever written a sentence. You learn to speak by speaking, not by waiting to be perfect.
I love that. You know, I remember a student I had a few years ago. Her name was Anna. She knew a lot of vocabulary and grammar rules, but she was afraid to talk. She always said, "What if I make a mistake?"
Oh, I've heard that so many times.
So one day I said, "Anna, just speak. Make mistakes. I want you to speak bad English today." And you know what? She laughed, relaxed, and spoke more in that one class than ever before. Her confidence changed just because she stopped chasing perfection.
That's beautiful, and it's true. When you stop focusing on perfection, your real learning begins. You get more comfortable, and that comfort leads to better fluency over time.
Another problem is that some learners think native speakers will judge them for mistakes. But guess what? Most people will respect you more for trying, especially if English isn't your first language.
Yes, most English speakers are kind and patient. We don't expect you to speak like a professor. We just want to understand you and have a conversation.
So here's a simple truth. Making mistakes is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're learning. And the more you practice, the more natural your English will become.
I agree 100%. So, if you're listening to this and feeling nervous about speaking, stop waiting to be perfect. Speak now. Speak often. Speak with joy.
Well said, Julia. All right. Now that we've busted the myth of perfect English, let's talk about what real English actually means and why it's what you should aim for.
All right, Jason, we've talked about why perfect English isn't necessary. Now let's dig into this question. What exactly is real English?
Great question, Julia. Real English is the kind of English people actually speak in daily life. It's not always formal, it's not always grammatically perfect, but it's natural, relaxed, and clear.
Right. Real English is what you hear in everyday conversations at the coffee shop, in the office, on the street, or even when friends are chatting. It's full of expressions, contractions, and shortcuts.
Exactly. Let me give a quick example. A textbook might say, I am going to visit my grandmother this evening. But in real life, most people just say, I'm going to visit my grandma tonight.
Yes. And that second sentence sounds more casual, more natural, and that's what people actually say. Real English is full of phrases like gonna, wanna, lemme, gotta, and so on.
Also, real English often includes small words that don't mean much, like, like, or kind of. They help make speech flow more naturally.
And it's not just words. Real English includes how we say things. The tone, the speed, the rhythm we speak in chunks or short phrases, not one word at a time.
Exactly. Native speakers often connect their words. For example, we say, did you eat? But it sounds like, did ya eat? Or, what are you doing? Becomes, what you doing?
So if you're listening and thinking, I don't understand native speakers, don't worry. It's probably because they're speaking real English, not slow textbook English.
And that's totally okay. The good news is you can learn real English by listening more and practicing with real materials like this podcast.
That's why it's important to focus not just on rules and grammar, but also on how English is used in real life. That's the kind of English that will help you in conversations, jobs, travel, everywhere.
So remember, real English equals natural English. It's simple, clear, and confident, not perfect or fancy.
All right, so now that we know what real English is, let's compare it to textbook English and talk about how to spot the difference.
Okay, so now let's look at a very common question English learners have. What's the difference between real English and textbook English?
That's such a good topic, Jason. I think most of us start with textbook English when we first begin learning, and that's okay. It gives us the basics.
Definitely. Textbooks teach grammar rules, vocabulary, and sentence structure. They say things like, hello, how are you? I am fine, thank you. And you?
That's the classic. But let's be honest, when was the last time you heard two people say that in real life?
Almost never. In real conversations, people say, hey, how's it going? I'm good. You?
Exactly. Real English is more casual, more flexible. It reflects how people actually speak, not how we're supposed to speak in perfect sentences.
Also, textbook English usually doesn't teach idioms, slang, or natural expressions. For example, a textbook might teach, I am very tired. But real English might be, I'm beat. I'm wiped out. I'm totally exhausted.
Or instead of, it is raining heavily, we say, it's pouring. It sounds more real and expressive.
Another thing, textbook English often feels too formal. You don't need to speak like a business letter every time. You can say, hey, not just hello, or thanks, instead of thank you very much.
And here's something important for our listeners. You don't have to throw away what you learned in textbooks. Just add real English on top of it. Mix both.
Yes, use the grammar you've learned, but don't be afraid to sound natural. If someone says, what you doing later? Now you'll know that it means, what are you doing later?
So, in summary, textbook English equals clean, correct, but formal and not always natural. Real English equals casual, simple, and sounds the way people talk in everyday life.
And remember, both types have value. But to communicate well, real English is your best friend.
Coming up next, we'll talk about why mistakes are actually helpful and how they make you a better English speaker.
So, let's talk about something really important, making mistakes. A lot of learners are afraid of them, right?
Oh, totally. Many learners think, if I make a mistake, people will laugh at me, or I'll sound stupid. But that's just not true.
Yes. Mistakes are a natural part of learning. In fact, they're one of the best ways to learn. Every mistake gives you feedback. It shows you where to improve.
Exactly. Think about how babies learn to speak. They don't wait until they know every word. They just speak. They say things wrong, and people gently correct them. That's how they grow.
I love that. And honestly, even native speakers make mistakes. We forget words. We use the wrong tense. Or we mix things up, and we just keep going.
Right. Nobody says, "Oh no, you used the wrong verb. You failed." No, we just keep the conversation going.
So, if you're a learner, here's the truth. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Be afraid of missing the chance to speak.
That's powerful. Every time you speak, even with mistakes, you're getting better. You're training your brain to use English naturally.
So the next time you're about to say something in English and you feel nervous, just go for it. Mistakes mean progress.
Coming up, we're going to give you some real-life phrases and examples you can use to sound more natural, even if you make a mistake or two.
All right. So far, we've talked about real English, the myths about perfection, and why mistakes are okay. Now let's talk about one of the best ways to learn real English, listening to real conversations.
Yes, this is such an important point. Many English learners spend a lot of time reading grammar books or memorizing vocabulary, but real improvement often happens when you listen to how English is actually spoken.
Exactly. When you listen to real conversations like podcasts, interviews, YouTube videos, or even movies, you get to hear the rhythm, the tone, and the natural flow of the language.
And you also hear real expressions that people use in daily life. Things like, "No worries," "What's up?" "Sounds good to me." These don't usually appear in textbooks, but they're so common in real life.
Absolutely. Also, listening helps you understand how native speakers connect words. For example, instead of, "What are you doing?" you might hear, "Watch doin'?"
Right. And the more you hear it, the more you get used to it, your ears start to recognize patterns. You don't even have to understand every single word to learn.
That's a great point. Even if you only understand 60 to 70% of what you hear, you're still learning. Your brain is working in the background, noticing pronunciation, tone, and sentence structure.
And here's a tip for our listeners. Don't just listen once. Listen to the same conversation multiple times. First, just enjoy it. Second, listen for new words. Third, try repeating the sentences out loud.
Yes, that technique is called shadowing. It means you listen and repeat right after the speaker, almost like an echo. It helps you sound more fluent and natural.
And remember, it's okay if you don't sound perfect at first. You're training your ears and your mouth at the same time. That's how real learning happens.
So, whether you're listening to this podcast, watching a show, or chatting with friends, just keep your ears open. Real English is everywhere.
And the more you listen, the more confident you'll feel. Your speaking will improve naturally because you're feeding your brain real English input.
Up next, we'll give you some simple ways to practice real English every day, even if you don't live in an English-speaking country.
Now let's talk about something super practical using simple, natural phrases. Because sometimes learners think they need to sound smart to speak good English.
Yes, I hear this a lot. Learners try to use long or complicated words to sound fluent. But in real English, native speakers usually keep it short and simple.
Exactly. For example, instead of saying, I am unable to attend the meeting today, a native speaker might just say, I can't make it today.
Right. Or instead of, I will attempt to finish the report, you can just say, I'll try to finish the report.
That sounds much more natural, and it's easier to understand too. Speaking simply doesn't mean your English is weak, it means it's clear and confident.
Also, natural phrases are used every day. Things like, no problem, take care, that's fine, sounds good. These make your English feel friendly and real.
Here's a fun tip for our listeners. When you hear a phrase you like, write it down. Keep a small notebook or use your phone. Then try to use those phrases in your own conversations.
I love that idea. And when you use these phrases often, they become part of your speaking style. You don't have to think about grammar, the sentence just comes out naturally.
So don't worry about sounding fancy. Focus on sounding natural and comfortable. That's how real communication works.
Coming up next, we'll give you some easy ways to practice real English in your daily life, even if you're not living in an English-speaking country. So now that we've talked about simple, natural phrases, let's go one step further. How can you practice real English in your daily life?
Good question. Many learners say, I don't live in an English-speaking country or I don't have anyone to practice with. But guess what? You still have options.
Absolutely. One of the best ways is to talk to yourself in English. It sounds funny, but it really works. You can describe what you're doing. I'm making coffee. I'm going for a walk. It's a nice day today.
Yes, and you can also practice thinking in English. Instead of translating from your native language, try forming your thoughts in English even if it's simple. That builds fluency.
Another great idea. Record yourself speaking. Pick a topic like my favorite food or what I did today, and speak for 1 or 2 minutes. Then listen back and notice how you sound.
That helps you hear your pronunciation and find areas to improve, just like a coach reviewing a game.
Here's another one. Language exchange apps. You can find people online who want to learn your language, and in return, you speak English with them.
Also, watch videos with subtitles. First, listen with subtitles in your language, then switch to English subtitles, then try without any. It trains your ears step by step.
One more fun idea, shadowing. Play a podcast or video and repeat what the speaker says, like an echo. You're copying real speech, rhythm, and intonation.
So the key is, make English part of your daily routine. You don't need a classroom, you just need small daily practice.
Coming up next, let's talk about something we all love. Fun. Yes, we'll share how real English learning can be fun and full of joy.
Let's talk about something that stops many learners from speaking overthinking.
Oh yes, that voice in your head that says, is this the right word? What if I say it wrong? What if they don't understand me? And then, you say nothing at all.
Exactly. Overthinking can freeze your confidence, but the truth is communication is not about perfection. It's about connection.
Well said. If your message is clear, that's enough. People don't care if your grammar is perfect. They care about your meaning, your tone, your smile.
So the best advice? Just speak. Don't try to build a perfect sentence in your head. Say what you can with the words you know.
And if you get stuck, it's okay to pause, smile, and try again. That's what fluent speakers do too, even in their own language.
The more you speak without fear, the faster you'll grow. So remember, don't overthink, just speak. You've got this.
Coming up, let's bring the joy back to learning. We'll talk about how to make English learning fun and enjoyable every single day. Let's talk about something really useful, how to use real English in different everyday situations.
Yes, English sounds different depending on where you are or who you're talking to. For example, the way you talk to a friend is different from how you speak to a teacher or at work.
Right. With friends, you might say, "Hey, what's up?" Or, "Want to hang out later?" But at work, it's more like, "Could we schedule a meeting?" Or, "Please let me know if you need help."
And don't worry if you don't get everything perfect. Using simple, natural phrases that fit the situation is what really matters.
Exactly. The more you practice real English in different situations like shopping, traveling, or at school, the more confident you'll become.
And the great news? You don't need to memorize complicated sentences. Just listen, observe, and try to use what feels natural.
So remember, real English is about being yourself and adjusting to your situation.
Coming up next, we'll wrap up with some final tips to keep you motivated on your English learning journey.
All right, Julia, as we come to the end of today's episode, let's leave our listeners with a powerful message.
Yes, if there's one thing to remember, it's this: progress is more important than perfection.
That's right. Every step you take, no matter how small, moves you forward. Don't get stuck trying to be perfect. Real English is about communicating, connecting, and growing.
And don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. Everyone learns at their own pace.
Celebrate your progress, your courage to speak, and your willingness to keep trying.
Remember, mistakes are part of the journey, and every time you speak, you get better.
So keep going, keep practicing, and most importantly, enjoy the journey.
You've got this. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode of English Learning Podcast.
Wow, Julia, we covered a lot today. From breaking the myth of perfect English to practicing real English every day.
Yes, Jason. And remember, the key is to keep it simple, natural, and fun. Use real phrases, listen to real conversations, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
One last tip: be patient with yourself. Learning a language is a journey, not a race. Celebrate small wins and keep practicing.
Also, try to speak English a little bit every day, even if it's just a few sentences to yourself or with a friend.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more helpful episodes like this.
Thanks for joining us today. Keep speaking real English, and see you next time on English Learning Podcast.
Take care and happy learning.